Welcome on into season 6, episode 5, and we're gonna go into season 7 right after this. I promise. I wanted to do something that I thought about the other day in regards to where we're at in the My League on this NBA 2K16 Nostalgia Knicks series that we're on. We're a pretty good way into this series. I mean, we're now entering season 7, which is almost a tenth of the way through this 80-year My League. And I think one of the interesting things that we need to address is legacies and players at this point in time of the simulation, because I think it's a really fascinating conversation that needs to be had in regards to certain guys and their legacy and where they are. And I wanted to give you an example. Let's go to rosters in the league, right? Who are the best players on each roster? And don't look at the contracts because it doesn't matter right now. But Karl Anthony Towns obviously was a rookie the first year of this entire thing, which was the 2015-2016 season. He's going into his 7th season, and he frankly is, you can make the debate outside of Kevin Durant and LeBron James, well, James Harden, and Oscar Osborne, who was the second pick in the 2017 draft, so in the second off season, and he's 23, so he's going to be unbelievable. In fact, he's from Minnesota. Hold on. Holy moly, and he's playing for the Timberwolves? That's a gigantic story. That's really cool. We'll do one for him. But Damian Lillard, Anthony Davis, obviously, Steph Curry. So many legacies are different. John Wall. I mean, can we look at John Wall for a minute? Look at his award history. Wait, what? Wrong guy. Here we go. Look at how many All-Stars John Wall has. And I'm going to compare some of these great players. Giannis is at a point in his career. He's 26. He's 81 overall. We all know he would be better than this. Like, to not have any All-Star appearances at this point in time in his career is a joke, because the Bucks won the 2021 NBA championship. So for Giannis to not be anywhere near that comparatively is ridiculous. Now, granted, he's 26. They're probably projecting him to be good soon, but that's where he is. I brought this up because, first of all, this game is the NBA 2K 2016. 2K16, right? So for the 2015-2016 NBA season. I brought this up the other day, and the legacies of some of these players really all changed dramatically in real life. Right now, it is January of 2025, or at least at the time of this recording. So it's probably more February of 2025 as I'm talking. And this game came out almost 10 years ago. The legacy of some of these players, in fact, let's go to the Knicks, because this is all really about him. Let's just be honest for a minute. In 2015-2016, the Thunder had Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, Serge Ibaka, and they were loaded. In fact, you can make the case from a matchup perspective, they weren't the favorites to win the title, but if you walked into May of 2016, there was a conversation for, after the Thunder beat the Spurs, of, oh, because remember, the Spurs were easily the second best team in the regular season that year, and the Thunder really made them look second tier. And the Warriors went 73-9 in this iteration of this game, of the roster that they had, etc. And everybody forgets, I think a lot of people forget, that the Thunder were up 3-1 on the Golden State Warriors, who had only lost 9 games all year. And the Thunder, all they had to do was win one more game. Now, when we're talking legacies in the NBA, I know this because I literally covered this entire league this entire year. If the Thunder had beaten the Golden State Warriors, if they had won one more game in that Western Conference Finals, they would have gone on and faced the Cavs. And let me be clear when I say this. Steph Curry, because this is very relevant to Steph Curry, because the Bulls in this franchise, in this My League of the 2020-2021 season that we just finished, won the NBA championship. In fact, let's go to him. Let's go to the NBA champs for this league in this season. I want you to look at Steph Curry's career. And what do you see? I am not saying that this is what his career would have been if the Thunder had won the West in 2016, when the Warriors went 73-9 and ultimately lost to the Cavs and LeBron won his 3rd championship. The Thunder were up 3-1 in that series. If they win that series, Klay Thompson doesn't go off for his magical Game 6, that unbelievable Game 7 where they dominated and played unbelievable and beat the Thunder, and obviously Game 5 where they won to make it a 3-2 series. If the Thunder win one more game, what is the legacy of Steph Curry from that time on to today? And I brought up these examples. The Warriors don't make the NBA Finals in 2016 if the Thunder beat them, right? So then we look at the 2015 NBA Championship for the Warriors. Obviously, this is a video game. None of this is real. This is all for entertainment. If the Thunder win that series, do you think Kevin Durant goes to the Golden State Warriors the next year after beating them? Do you think Kevin Durant and his decision alters the entirety of the NBA for the next 5 years? 4 years minimum. I think multiple legacies could be vastly different if it wasn't for the Thunder choking. If they didn't choke away that 2016 Western Conference Finals, it would have been the Thunder and Cavs in that NBA Finals. I don't know who would have won, and I'm not just saying that because of one way or the other. I really don't know who would have won. The Thunder were a really good team that year. They built up into something that I don't think a lot of people thought they could, because they got better and better and better as the season progressed, and especially in the playoffs. They improved dramatically as the playoffs proceeded. And then you get to the Western Conference Finals, where they looked like they were firing on all cylinders until they blew it. If they wouldn't have blown it, and they would have made the championship, the Warriors don't go to the West. They don't go to the NBA. They don't get there, right? Obviously, they don't blow it to LeBron. Who knows? Maybe Kevin Durant wins the championship in 2016. Or maybe it all kind of goes the way it was with LeBron winning his 3rd. But then we also say this. If Kevin Durant doesn't go to the Warriors, we need to remember, again, as somebody who covered the league from 2014 through 2022, we need to remember that the Warriors were already going to go through a lot of depth change as a team in 2016, 2017. And when Kevin Durant got there that first year that he was there, early on in the season, the Warriors were winning because they had Kevin Durant, not because of what they had built. Their depth was very young, very inexperienced, very choppy, very blocky. They were learning on the fly, and they were very, very lucky to have the core that they had at that time and the talent of Kevin Durant. Which you can make the case at that time Kevin Durant was in the conversation of being the best player in the league. His defense was improving significantly. His offense was still at the top of his game, etc. So if Kevin Durant never goes to Golden State in that summer of 2016 because the Thunder make it to the finals and either win or they lose to LeBron, whatever happens, I don't think Kevin Durant goes to Golden State. I think he resigns because people forget, even though the Warriors went 73-9, going into that summer, just on paper by itself, if the Thunder had kept Kevin Durant, they would have been favorites to win the NBA championship. And it was a no-doubt foregone conclusion that they would have been favorites, at least in the come out of the West. Because they were up 3-1 on the Warriors, and we all knew the Warriors were going to decrease and not be the same team the year after with the same core units, because a lot of guys were getting older, a lot of guys were either retiring, leaving the team, signing somewhere else, because a lot of guys were going to try and get that max payday because they all had career years. They all did. They had an amazing team that year. In 2015, 2016, the Warriors did, but we knew that they were going to decrease and downsize and not be as good. And so when Kevin Durant chose to go to the Warriors, that bailed out a lot of those weak depth problems that they had in the first 2-3 months of the season, because they were bailed out by the fact that they had Kevin Durant, Draymond Green on the front line, and then Steph and Clay in the backcourt who could do whatever they wanted on an offensive perspective because they had so many openings because Kevin Durant opened up the floor. If that doesn't exist, I don't think the Warriors are in the conversation with an Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't think they're in the conversation with a up-and-coming Rockets team. I don't think they're in the conversation with, the Spurs, who people forget, in 2016, 2017, even though Tim Duncan had retired, they went to the Western Conference Championship in 2017. It was either 2017 or 2018. I want to say it was 2017. But there's 2-3 teams right there that probably would have been in the conversation as being better than the Warriors in the West by itself. And we look at the overall landscape of how the league was playing out, and the Spurs and Thunder would have been better than the Warriors at that time in 16-17 without Kevin Durant. So then when it comes back to the legacy of Steph Curry and what this all means and what this all adds up to entail, does Steph Curry actually get the championships that he now has in real life if it isn't for Kevin Durant's decision? I just broke down 2017, the playoffs of 2017. I don't think the Warriors get there. In 2018, we have to remember, the Houston Rockets pushed the Cavs, a Kevin Durant Cavs team, to a Game 7, or at least a deep playoff run in the Western Conference Finals, or either it was the second round, I forget. And they pushed them. I think Houston would have been better than the Warriors without Kevin Durant in 2018. I don't know what would have happened with Kawhi, with the Spurs, but maybe that drama doesn't happen, because if they get to a championship in 2017, maybe Kawhi and Pop and the organization figure it out. We know James Harden in his MVP years would have led the Rockets to where they needed to get to. We also know that in the East, LeBron would have kept running train. So who's to say that the unbelievable, magical year that LeBron had in 2018, he wouldn't have had to face a four-headed monster of Draymond, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson? I think LeBron would have beaten a Rockets-led James Harden team in the 2018 NBA Finals. I think they would have won that. Remember, they didn't have Kyrie Irving. But Kyrie Irving, there was a lot of drama there. Would they have had drama if they had won it in 2017, whether it was against the Thunder, the Spurs, or whomever else comes out of the West in 2017? That would have been back-to-back titles. Maybe Kyrie doesn't get upset. Maybe in 2018 they stay together and they're an even better team, and LeBron is at his ultimate peak. Even though Harden's MVP Harden, and LeBron debatably could have won it as well, which he might have won it, being a back-to-back champion, getting to the league, to the finals again for another year, maybe they would have won 3. Maybe LeBron would have had 5 championships after the 2018 year that he had, winning 3 in a row. Or excuse me, winning 3 in a row. And honestly, they may have won 4 in a row if you want to backtrack, because Kyrie Irving got hurt in the 2015 NBA Finals in Game 1, and then obviously Kevin Love had his injury problems ever since that opening round against the Celtics in 2015. And the excuse train for the Warriors would have then become, well, in 2015 when they played the New Orleans Pelicans, Tyreek Evans wasn't healthy. Mike Conley wasn't healthy for the Grizzlies in the second round, which is why Steph Curry had such an easy route to get to where he needed to get to. And then, if I'm not mistaken, Pat Beverly got hurt as well against the Rockets in the Western Conference Finals in 2015. And then obviously Kyrie Irving went out after Game 1. And Steph Curry never had to really face anybody on a consistent basis. Oh, Matthew Dellavedova is the reason why Andre Iguodala won the Finals MVP. I don't want to hear that. They won the championship in 2015. They deserve it. But if this is all Curry would have had, is a 2015 NBA championship up until, we're just going to say, 2020. Nobody knows what's going to happen in 2020. Whether it's COVID, whether it's legacy, nobody knows. Because the league will be different, everything will be different, the players, the teams, everything. But when Kevin Durant signed in 2016 to the Warriors, that changed the entire outlook of legacies. And you look at Steph Curry here, and obviously he's a multiple-time All-Star. No debate. He's going to the Hall of Fame in this little simulation that we have here. But when it comes to all-time point guards, he's not a 4-time champion by this point. He's not a 2-time MVP. He doesn't have a Finals MVP, although I think he won it in this one. If I'm not mistaken, he won the Finals MVP when they won the championship. But when it comes to overall legacy and overall conversation with a guy like Steph Curry, if Kevin Durant never goes to the Warriors and he has the legacy that he has somewhere else, whether it's back in Oklahoma City or wherever, maybe he paints his own legacy, wins his own titles in Oklahoma City and does his own thing. And before you know it, that takes away from the legacy of Steph Curry. And also, it might add to the legacy of LeBron James, who might have more championships and who would be more in the conversation with a guy like Michael Jordan. Not that he isn't already. I'm just saying in regards to that narrative and that debate, it would be almost impossible to debate LeBron isn't at least in the conversation with MJ if he wins 3 or 4 championships in a row with the Cavs. You win 2 in a row in Miami. You go dang near every single year in the decade, and you win 5 of 7? Because think about it. They probably win in 18. The chances of them winning in 17 are high, and obviously they won it in 16. Or if they did or not, whether it's Kevin Durant or whomever. All because the Thunder could not close out the Warriors when they were up 3-1 in the 2016 in the NBA Western Conference Finals. That's it. That legacy, that moment in time changed everything for the NBA for the rest of the 2010s. It did. It changed everything. And I want to expound on that, because when Russell Westbrook won the MVP in 2017, the 16-17 season, the very next year, the Thunder still won 47, 48 games, 46 games. If they would have kept Kevin Durant and Westbrook still played at that pace, they might have been a 56, 57, 60 win team and been a matchup nightmare in the playoffs. On top of the Warriors having to find a way to roster manage what they needed to do because Kevin Durant's gone. Guys would have gotten older. The dynamics would have shifted, things would have changed. Who knows what would have happened with the Warriors? I'm not saying they wouldn't have signed somebody else, but Kevin Durant changes the game, right? So it's so interesting when we see these random simulations like I've put together here. We're now in the 21-22 season, going into season 7 of this, and you can see the legacies are completely different for players. Look at LeBron. See, in this league, this is before the 2016 champion and the 2020 champion. All LeBron here is a two-time champion of the 2 years that he was in Miami. He's a 16-time All-Star. He's a 12-time first-team All-NBA. And obviously all the other awards that are on top of it. And look at the MVPs. That's all he has is 4. He has no more. And you wouldn't put LeBron in the conversation for greatest player of all time if all he has is 2 NBA championships. You wouldn't. At all. You would say he's an unbelievable player. You would say he's one of the more accomplished players ever. But 2 championships doesn't even give you the right to bear arms, if you know what I'm saying. He can't even talk about being a guy in the greatest of all time discussion. Right? Okay, 4 MVPs, woo. But he only has 2 championships. That doesn't bear fruit to the argument of being one of the greatest ever. So it is incredibly fascinating to see this simulation play out into the degree that it does. And one of the other things I want to discuss more as we end seasons, not every year, but in certain years, I want to discuss guys who are young, who are up and coming, who are superstars that obviously get drafted through the league. So, for example, this guy, drafted in 2019, 2 years ago. And now he's an 83 overall point guard who could be in the conversation for being one of the best players in the league in 2-3 years. You know? There's a lot of those guys. Like this guy, Kyle Brooks, drafted year 2, the second draft of this. He's a 2-time NBA champion. He's never been an All-Star, but he's a 2-time NBA champion, back-to-back. And I believe he's won the MVP twice. Again, one of the best players in the league. Came from Illinois, 24 years old. Prime of his career, Kyle Brooks. Big-time deal. Right? So I want to keep these guys in the conversation so that it is understood where they are and where they stand within the league. Oscar Osborne, perfect example. Second pick overall, 90 rated, 23 years old. This guy could be the best player in the league at some point. He's just starting his legacy in regards to being one of the best players in the league. But it is fascinating from a legacy perspective, seeing how guys differentiate on how they're perceived in a national, more relevancy spotlight if only a couple of things had changed here or there. And you can kind of see it here in this game, for example, like Steph Curry won his second NBA championship. I want you to think about that. Steph Curry has as many championships as LeBron James in this game right now. 2. I know in real life he also has 4. But it's so different, the 4 that he had compared to the 2 here. Whereas his second title here in 2021 is legit. I mean, he is the guy. Right? Same thing within real life in 2022 when they won the championship. He was the guy. I feel like he was the guy in 2015 and 2016 as well, but it was just different. And if you watched the game, it was just different. But it is fascinating to see those legacies, those conversations, those things alternate and differ depending upon which one things could go one way or the other, right? And that's sports and that's life and that's everything. But it made me think when Curry won his first title here in this series of where we're at, how it can really dictate and change the appearance of what your legacy could be because of what happened or what didn't happen, right? All right. I'm sure that's enough of you listening to me talk and banter, but I used to do this for forever back in the day, and I wanted to kind of throw it out there because it's been almost a decade since this game came out, and you can see how narratives and legacies can be completely different based on one thing or another. And this game and this simulation is really proving that out to be the case when you start to see how certain guys, certain players begin to play um, just through a simple simulation as this itself. So. Anyway, we're going to hop into season 7 next. The off season for the 21-22 season, the 2021 off season begins now.